Welcome to Eyewitness News. My name is Clement Manyathela and we are in conversation with Public Protector Busisiwe Mkhwebane. A lot has been happening, especially over the last couple of months. His face has been plastered across our TV screens. There's been adverse findings against her. There are people day by day calling for her to be removed. But how is she taking all of this? How is she doing? Do we know much about the person behind Busisiwe Mkhwebane? And that's what we're also hoping to establish and reach out to during this interview. Public Protector, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to be on the screen again. For your viewers.
We're now used to your screen.
Yes, yeah. So, but I hope this time we will just discuss and, for people just to listen to me or listen to what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I know you'll be asking a lot of questions, like, a repetition of some of the things which have happened.
Yeah, let's have a frank conversation.
Okay.
How are you doing? It's been a rough couple of months, especially July. How is the Public Protector Busisiwe Mkhwebane from Kwaggafontein doing?
I'm doing well. I'm well, to be honest. I need to indicate that, yes, in the midst of all what is happening, being a prayerful woman and depending on prayers from other sectors, I am well. I have peace and I'm just watching what is happening. Other incidences I'm very much concerned about or surprised, but I'm fine. I'm well.
Does it ever take a toll on you?
Not at all, Clement. As I'm saying that, there's this peace which you won't understand, but I'm at peace. Especially as somebody who will understand is somebody who, when you say to them, please pray for me to have peace in the midst of the storms, and indeed I have peace about what is happening. And I think I'm just very thankful that I'm in that space and I'm able to do my work without any distraction.
Do you ever pause, Public Protector, and wonder why on earth you decided to take this position? Because I'm sure you knew that it comes with challenges, right? And it will come with attacks. But did you ever pause and say, I didn't know it was going to be this hard?
Not at all.
No regrets?
To be honest. No regrets. Remember, it was a nomination. And when I accepted the nomination, before even the interviews, to be honest, my cousins, my mother mentioned it once, to say, oh, I'm concerned because she could follow what was happening to the former Public Protector. I mean, people swearing at her or insulting, all those things. So she was saying, hey, I'm worried about that. But for me, I was like saying, no, I'm fine. I accepted the nomination. I'm going for the interviews and we'll see. Yeah.
Speaking of your mother, there was an article that was published about how she feels about the things that are happening around you. What do you make of that? Is that a reflection of how the family feels, especially on the court findings, on the attacks, on even the Constitutional Court saying you'd have to pay from your own personal pocket? Is that how they feel? How are they taking it? Because I understand what you say about prayer, but at the end of the day, we're human beings. Things get to us.
We do. I mean, she's not well, but she's praying a lot. I get my encouragements from her, and even after the Constitutional Court judgment, I called her. I told her all is well. We will see how we pay that particular money. But as far as that is concerned, it's a very serious invasion of privacy and security issues. I'm very much concerned about. I think you've seen what I've posted, because that reminds me of the apartheid times, how they will then, as the smear campaign, they are trying to deal with me, discredit me, or as well Trying to show others that these are untouchables. For instance, your Reserve Bank and your issues relating to some people, you shouldn't investigate them. So it's stooping very low for the South African media. Actually, we'll be dealing with that because that person had no right to go and interview my mother. And that's how she feels. But again, I had to arrange security for her because I don't know whether it was genuinely wanting to hear what the family feels, or indeed is the strategy of the then apartheid operations, where then they also go to your family to deal with you.
When you say they, who are you referring to? Who are these people that are trying to just target and discredit you?
Right, Clement, I mean, you can't have the media. There's a video I've posted. I mean, you've seen how they dealt with Winnie Mandela. There was that strategic communication which journalists said, and every day publishing very negative stories. This started when I was investigating the rogue unit. There were very serious negative reporting incidences. I mean, I'm still in the media or in the papers on TV daily, and I mean during the month of end of June or even July, in fact June, somebody was even saying there is 2 or 3 articles almost daily about me. And what are you doing, trying to do to the minds of South Africans? Because, I mean, media is a very powerful tool. I think we know what Malcolm X is saying. You try to then influence the people. And the danger about it is that some of the people don't read the articles which are published. As long as the headline is saying the enemy of the state, people don't read. I mean, this article which was saying I received monies from the Guptas. They just read the headline on Twitter, on Facebook, and they conclude about you. That's what is happening in the country. But when you then read the article, or some people report, they write stories where they would then portray you as this horrible person, and then at the end they have one-liner saying, we asked the Public Protector and this is how she responded. In the country, if we had, there's one article Ferial published, the questions and the answers. That's fair reporting, because if we can have the media in South Africa, which is like that, even in the world, then we will be a very peaceful country. I mean, that's the challenge, that there's that manufacturing of concern, because then people are then fed this information or this narrative that you need to take this person as this horrible person. You're Gupta, you are a Zupta, and wondering, I was one of those 77 to 80 people who were interviewed, who were in fact nominated, shortlisted to 14 individuals. Was there any involvement of President Zuma there? And then I went for a live interview, all of us. Was he there answering my questions? So I wonder if people are not then critically analyzing that. The former Public Protector was appointed by the same president. Chief Justice was appointed by the same president. But now you allow yourselves as people to be fed these lies and this narrative. It's concerning. So when I'm saying they, I'm referring to the media, to these NGOs. I mean, your CASAC, your Freedom Under Law, your others, who are attacking this constitutional institution. You understand? Because you cannot separate Busisiwe Mkhwebane from Public Protector. That's a fact. And I've been saying to those CASAC, I think when I issued one report, or even when they were attacking me about the investigation or the report of Friede, that you should be partnering with us. We've got vendor pensioners who are desperate. It affects them as pensioners who are now, I mean, former DGs are now on the queue receiving social grants. Those are issues affecting people at the grassroots. Those are issues where we should be working together to deal with them. How many reports we've issued as a Public Protector? Those are the issues you should be helping us to take them to court. Use the your resources, if you are really concerned about this democracy of ours. But then you can see that they've got their own agenda. They are focusing on the elite, and it's a class issue, because now you are not focusing on the people who are supposed to be benefiting from this institution. Because I'm only here for the public. I don't have any interests of my own, you know, when I'm doing or investigating. And if you are litigating, being the state, against the Public Protector, then what are you saying? It means you are not even protecting the very same people, your citizens, the very same people who voted for you. Because now if you are Minister of Finance and you take the Public Protector's report, are you dealing with the Public Protector, or you are impacting on the very same people at the grassroots? Because Mina, I might say I'm not opposing, or I'm opposing because I would want to make sure that we have proper interpretation of the law, or I'm assisting the court. But at the end of the day, if the judges decide, no, we are setting aside this report, are you dealing with the Public Protector? No. You are impacting on the very same people, and you are there to make sure that there's justice. You understand? So I think that's what we are not focusing on. We just deal with the individual or the person.
What do you make of the people that have come out and said the kind of investigations you've picked up on are questionable? Say the SARS rogue unit, and some people say, well, you failed to say in court what the special circumstances were for you to pick up on a case like the so-called SARS rogue unit, which was 10 years ago. And they're saying it becomes quite clear that maybe there's an attack on a particular individual when you investigate them for lying, for the SARS rogue unit, or even for why they left with a certain staff from the SARS to Treasury.
I've been saying I don't go around looking for complaints. Why must I target a person when we've done around 34,000 investigations since I arrived? And now only one individual feels that I'm targeting them. And I mean, a complaint has been lodged by, the first one was relating to the Pillay matter. The second one was lodged by the EFF, and it was including EMIA, Executive Members Ethics Act, investigations, which the Public Protector is the only institution which can investigate those, and it should be finalized within 30 days. So when it comes to the issues of the time frames, the issue of the rogue unit, in bracket, has been with us for a number of years. When it was launched, the special circumstances, I've mentioned what are the special circumstances in the report. In the report, I think it's paragraph 3.5 in the executive summary, where I'm referring to what are the special circumstances. Is the discretion of the Public Protector. And I'm not focusing on a person, because if there's any issues which relates to systemic challenges, issues, even if they've happened a long time ago, how can we deal with them so that going forward we don't repeat the same mistakes? Issues of investigation where it's an investigation which falls within the mandate of the Public Protector, irrespective of when that happened, and there is evidence to that effect, where that if that matter is not investigated and there are remedial actions, the issue of prejudice still continues. In this particular matter, there is an indication. We've informed them. I think that's what they were demanding. In the Section 79 notice, we've informed them what are the special circumstances, and in the final report, I've indicated what are the special circumstances specifically for this particular matter. We cannot have an institution which is not supposed to be having those kinds of equipments, those kinds of investigations. That was not related to tax. And I've even specifically said it in the report. Anything which has to do with the investigations of tax-related matters, SARS can continue doing that. I'm not interfering with that. But then let them fall within the law. Because as Public Protector, we check what happened, what should have happened, and when we check what should have happened, we check the prescripts. What is the Constitution saying? What is the law, SARS Act and other laws saying about that particular conduct, and what needs to be corrected? We only dealing with that. Irrespective, I wouldn't just have my own agendas. No, I'm dealing with purely that. And as I've said, Clement, we are not interested on whether, or I don't have any interest on, or particular special treatment or a certain treatment on individuals. So it's just purely that. Now, when you deal with the matter of what happened in court, I mean, that matter we are appealing, because I've issued a statement where I've indicated that the judge, overreached, went into even now the merits of the review, whereas she was supposed just to focus on the issue of the interdicting the Public Protector. In fact, interdicting not only the Public Protector, but interdicting the people who are supposed to implement the report. Now, the appeal again, in fact, the opposition, I opposed the matter because I was not happy with how the affidavit was crafted, how it was, in fact, the insults to the Public Protector, the way it was just making sure that the court must strike off whatever insults which were directed towards the Public Protector. But again, you cannot interdict the police from continuing to investigate. That's totally wrong. Interdict the president who's supposed to act, but then the police in their investigation, or the NPA, let people continue doing their work, because it was not going to say tomorrow then they have discovered something. But why then interfere in the constitutional responsibilities?
But will they not be prejudiced if the police continue with that investigation and they find that there's, say, something against this person, and then they take them through the courts, and the application review application comes and says, okay, we set aside the report?
But then where is the link there? Because if there's any criminal conduct, why must the criminal conduct be set aside by them? So police should have continued investigating. The matter is now, especially NPA, remember that matter is before court. They need to continue with their work. And even this one of the interdict, I don't normally oppose interdicts. That one is still a fact. I opposed this one because the way the affidavit was crafted, and the insults and the allegations which are there. Then secondly, it was the issue of why interdict others to do their work, their normal course of work. And that's all. And again, Clement, my intention is we need to have the rule of law in this country. We cannot adjudicate and even issue judgments to deal with individuals. Let's play the ball and not play the person.
Do you think that's what the judges are doing?
What precedents are you setting as a country? Just only deal with be objective. Deal with what the law is saying. Hence, again, people must know. And even the very same judges, they know it, because we are all legally trained. If a person is opposing a matter, you are not fighting. You want to make sure that you assist the court to give them the information which you have, or even present your side of the story. Kanti justice in justice, that's why you have that sign of justice, where you need to make sure that there is hearing of all the sides of the story, and then decide after hearing all sides. So it's purely that. But now there is that narrative which is created, that when you oppose any matter, you are fighting.
Yeah.
And this narrative that public protector, you are wasting your resources, you say you don't have resources, but now you are litigating. What is the Constitution saying? Is the institution not having any right, you litigate? Or even the public protector? And all of us, we need to be given that opportunity. So litigating it doesn't mean that we are fighting.
I want to move to your relationship, or the officer's relationship with the president. There's a recent, obviously, case that is in the courts now. The president is trying to interdict the enforcement of the remedial action on Pravin Gordhan vis-a-vis the Ivan Pillay matter. I think a lot of people agree that it doesn't look good to have such an important constitutional body face off with the office of the president, or even the office of the president face off in court with such an important constitutional body. Was it difficult for it to get to where it is right now for you?
Difficult how?
Because these are two important bodies.
Constitutional institutions.
Yeah,
I mean, the president is a constitutional being.
Yeah.
I'm a constitutional institution.
And I suppose you don't expect that from a president. And I know what you've, through the court application and the affidavits, what the views have been about why he failed to implement the remedial action on Pravin Gordhan on the Ivan Pillay matter. What I'm asking is, did it shock you, or was it difficult from your part as the public protector to get to a point where you have to say to the president that, to me, it appears like you don't want to uphold your constitutional duties by acting on this person?
I think there were letters which were shown in court, which anyway, they were shown during the rogue unit. I think what Advocate Dalimpofu was mentioning is exactly what happened. They were not even supposed to be discussed, because even Judge Potterell depended on them, which they were not for the rogue unit, but with. When I was engaging the president, it was purely advising and even showing the president that there's a Supreme Court, the Constitutional Court judgment.
Yeah.
Remedial actions are binding until set aside by a court. Therefore, you have this matter, you need to submit the plan. And a plan is not saying implement immediately. The plan, you need to have, there's a number of institutions or even ministers. Last month, or when I was with the Premier of KZN, Mr. Zigalala, because there was one report we issued about the Mpumalanga HOD, in fact DG, he wanted an advice or direction. He came all the way here. Public Protector, there's this report, I don't understand, there's these time frames, how must I deal with the matter? This is what I expected. I received a response from the president saying, no, I'll wait for the judicial review. My advice was, you can't say that, because as a constitutional being, there's this constitutional court judgment, it's binding until or unless set aside. Then then the letter was saying, I can't implement. If you want me to implement, then take me to court. I said, no, I won't take you to court. This matter should be implemented, and whoever advises you is not the correct advice. This matter needs to be dealt with in the following manner, because Minister Gordhan was the one who was supposed to interdict. So now in this one, the president is interdicting himself, because he's the implementer. How do you then go and implement, interdict? But those deliberations happen. But it's difficult, because I won't refuse to be accessible. I receive a lot of letters, calls, and requests that, okay, the plan, because the plan which I need, it's like your action plan, project plan. I will call a meeting with this person on this day, and by this date. I will write or request the reasons or whatever by this date, ne? I will do the following. Normally where we are saying discipline, we just say discipline, we can't be prescriptive. How? The evidence is there for you. You understand? Then it doesn't mean that in your plan you should include investigation, because already there's investigation which we've done. But then yours is possibly then I will appoint a panel, for instance, to look into this matter. Or I'm intending to write a letter by this particular date and stuff like that.
And his response was that he will wait for the review application.
Yes. So I think what needs to be very clear is that even, there is no, it's not, we are not fighting, it's exchanging letters, and which was not necessary also to go to court. You understand? Because if you say, I mean, we've got court applications where my legal services will say, hey, PP, we think here, let's call these people. There was one application which was made where I had to say to my legal team, meet with their legal team, find common ground, and then let's not proceed with this matter. Or even if it's not in court yet, myself, check with those people, can we resolve this matter? So it's just that, because we don't need the courts. Courts are not there to tell us how we should administratively run our offices.
Yeah. So why was it difficult then not to sit down and resolve it, even amongst the legal teams, and say it's not necessary that it goes to court?
Well, I think when you write letters, it helps to, the letters are for the very same reason. Where I write a letter, you respond, I respond and say, no, but it's still not the case. Because this is not a plan. You can't say it's a plan, you know. And if then you decide to go to court, it's a challenge, because you are within your right to do that, Clement, I think. But in most cases, when a meeting is requested, I would be available to meet. It's just that sometimes it's difficult to deal with certain issues. I wouldn't dictate to the president how he should be running this country or his office. And I think that's a challenge sometimes, because we do have our officials who prepare all these things for us. Sometimes we sign, maybe because we are busy, and send things, you know. And sometimes we should also just sit back and say, but no, man, Public Protector, can you, Chief of Staff, arrange a meeting with this person? Let's sit. I'm always available. I mean, like how he did when there was that complaint by DA, which I appreciated, that he was upfront and requested a meeting, because normally it was not necessary. He was just supposed to respond in writing and say, this is what I know, but he requested a meeting, which is good. I think that's how we can run this country, instead of just being litigious, you know.
Yeah. Just lastly, on the relationship with the president, some people have gone to an extent, I mean, his detractors, of trying to link him to former President Jacob Zuma, to say the Constitutional Court had found that the head of state, as the head of the state, it's your constitutional duty to respect and support the office of the Public Protector. And the Constitutional Court has said the former president had failed to do that. And some people say in his actions right now, he's failing to respect and support the office of the Public Protector. I mean, even your legal teams in court have argued that why is he going there to support Minister Pravin Gordhan as he faces off in court with you? How do you view that? What is your view on that?
We are a constitutional state. Then he's the constitutional being. And the Constitutional Court indicated and interpreted the provisions of the Constitution. And the Constitution is very clear. Section 181(3) of the Constitution about the Chapter 9 institutions, that the state organs or anyone must not interfere with the functioning of the Chapter 9 institutions, and that they must support the Chapter 9 institutions. So we take it from there. It's not an issue of distractors or whatever. We are here as Chapter 9 institutions to strengthen constitutional democracy, to make sure that the rule of law is respected. So as a public protector also, and other ombudsman now around the world or the country, the world or Africa, in the AU 2063 Agenda 2063, it's very clear we are also there to help states to have clean governance. You know, it goes a long way, because if you have clean governance, you can run your finances, your resources will be there to empower your people and whatever. So when it comes to the issue of the president, surely as the constitutional being, having taken an oath of office, even the executive, to respect and to abide by and uphold the Constitution. So you'll expect that level of respecting that oath of office. I think we need to take stock of this. I don't think we need to be, you know, moving at such speed and as such, with this pace we are moving in. We're going to be facing a very serious constitutional crisis. And I've indicated in the letters as well that we cannot pick and choose how we apply the law, because that's an issue. Again, I'm repeating, when we adjudicate cases, when we issue judgments, even the public protector, I wouldn't be issuing reports just because I want to deal with the person. I issue all the reports based on the legal prescripts which are there, which needs to be complied with. A lot of our reports, if you can just read them, when there's a complaint about irregular appointment, we check, okay, this person applied, doesn't meet the requirements, the job profile says must have a degree, but this person doesn't have a degree, was shortlisted, or even their policies are saying these are the requirements. What is the law saying? That's purely what we're dealing with. Now you have the challenges of you creating something which is very worrisome, because if then you have another minister or another director general who will then waste state resources, loot billions and billions, and then the public protector, we uncover, we have the evidence, we issue a report and we say, President, deal with this, or Premier, deal with this person. The person then takes us to court and writes, the affidavit is very insulting and whatever. I won't be doing that. Taking the public protector interdict implementation, and nothing is happening. What are we creating? I think let's just reflect on that as a country. And I think that's all what we are expecting to happen.
And that is why I ask you about that, public protector, because as you say, we're creating something that is big, and South Africans that are watching this face-off are sitting and they're concerned, because here's a president who says this constitutional body that is the public protector, which is supposed to defend, which is supposed to uphold the Constitution, and you're saying the person holding that office doesn't grasp their constitutional duties. And you've got this office then say you are failing to uphold the Constitution. As South Africans, what do you say to them? How are they supposed to read that? Because I hear what you say when you say we're creating a crisis here and something that can be avoided. But what are they supposed to read from that? And that's why I reference the Constitutional Court. That what is your view? Do you think he is respecting the Constitution? Do you think he's supporting your office?
I wouldn't want to. That you can ask him. I think he'll answer that question. But again, South Africans, if a person is taking another one to court, we're still a very young democracy. And courts are there to interpret, and also they help in the development of the law. So if we are in court, let's just focus on the facts and the law. Let's not go further and deal with the integrity of a person. You know, because I wouldn't say to a minister, you know, I've issued that report, the Pillay matter, or any report I'm issuing. I wouldn't call a person a corrupt defender of state capture. You are perpetuating corruption. And I wouldn't use that in my report. I wouldn't use that in my papers to court. I wouldn't even say to a person, you are a constitutional delinquent. You understand? As a constitutional being, now you are becoming a constitutional delinquent. I wouldn't do that. So what I would say from my side, somebody was telling me yesterday that you are too diplomatic. But I think that's what we need to preserve as a country. We need to make sure that we operate within the Constitution and the rule of law. Let's not deal with the person. I'm still repeating. Let's deal with the facts before us and apply the law. If I'm preparing my affidavit, being the public protector, I will make sure that I put the facts, what transpired, what the law is saying are your responsibilities. So I think from my side, that's all I would say. And to South Africans is, let's also make sure that we understand that when matters are before court, or when a person opposes or takes another one to court, is that process. So it's for the judges also to say, no, you are abusing the court processes. This is frivolous litigation, especially the applicants. Because as an opposer, when you oppose a matter, how are you litigating? How is it a frivolous litigation? You defending yourself, or you saying, no, court, this is my side of the story. So when you decide on both ways.
You said that sometimes some things are necessary and it's important for us to sit down and just talk. Are you willing to sit down with the president?
Definitely, Clement. I've said it several. Remember during my interview, this notion that I wouldn't be antagonistic. I'm here to be used by them. Some of them I've been saying when I meet with the executives and whatever, I'm saying, we are like your kidney. We get all these things, we bring it to you and say, this is what is happening within your department or your country. You know, can you fix here? And then at the end of the day, who's going to be shining or receiving the accolades? It's you. But we've tried to help you to do that. There's a number of investigations I've investigated. I've been saying that. There's one report we issued, the mortuaries report, we call it like that, from KZN, where we sat with the MEC for health, and we were showing him, these are the gaps. What would you want to see the next person who's coming in to look into? the investigation we did of the panel vans. We sat with the Minister Blade Nzimande. We had to find solutions together. If I issue a Section 79, a lot of other people will say, PP, can I meet you? Especially if Minister Gordon said, PP, can I come so that I can explain my response? Because we expect you to respond. Or even the President, after issuing the Section 79, I went there, we discussed, I took him through. There was nothing wrong stopping the President from saying, PP, can we sit? Can I understand? Yes, you know, writing something is one thing, but writing something and coming and sitting down with a person and explaining yourself. And I would also say, no, but here, unfortunately, the law says this. You understand? Hence, I had to do this. And my work is very clear. Where you are implicated, Section 79 is very clear. I give you an opportunity on findings, not on remedial action. Yes, when I discuss with you this Section 79, I would even say to you, but you think how we can fix this issue? Or even if you respond, there's nothing stopping you to say, yes, I see we violated this policy or we violated this legislation. I think for us to correct it, maybe we need to amend our policy. Then we include that in our remedial action.
Yeah.
So if we can all do that, I mean, we will have a smooth process. There won't be a situation where people are taking us on review, and because some of them are doing that to just save face, or some are doing it to suspend the process from going forward.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is the report is there. Same applies with the Reserve Bank report. The remedial actions were set aside, but the findings are still standing.
Yeah. So beyond the reports, you are willing to sit down and say, let's avoid how the perception that this face-off creates. You are willing to do that. Would you start the process to meet with him to say, President, this is not okay. We are attacking each other, or we are seen to be attacking each other in public. We need to preserve.
Yes.
Would you start the process?
Yes, because, well, I have
beyond
a
the
lot of,
reports, because I understand that sometimes
know.
when you issue the section, they are obliged to come, or they can ask to come and get clarity on the report. But I'm asking about the importance of these two officers. Are you willing to go and say, the perception out there is this, and it's not okay? We have a responsibility to restore the confidence in this office.
I think that is very much important to do. There's nothing stopping the Public Protector from doing that.
Will you?
I'll do it, definitely, since we are discussing. But for your information, when the President was appointed, not now, but when he was still the interim President, well, there's several requests which we made as an office, because my office should be interacting a lot with the President. Remember, especially on complaints of Executive Members Ethics Act. So if we sit down and also show him, these are the number of things which your executives should be avoiding, including yourself. When you go to answer, be frank, be upright, you know, because I'm here for that.
Yeah.
We have a number of complaints, service delivery related. We are picking up systemic challenges, which as the Public Protector, a Chapter 9 institution, there to strengthen constitutional democracy. I should be helping the President, the Minister of COGTAB, if there's a lot of complaints in the municipalities which we are picking up and there's a trend. You know, this is what you need to engage with your executives, make
But
sure
now you
that
can't because of this tension.
we agreed that we need to meet, because after we met, the only time we managed to meet was unfortunately not what I was intending, but then for this investigation.
Yeah.
And in that meeting, we agreed that we should be meeting, we shouldn't be postponing. There was a time where I also requested a meeting, though it was related to investigation, but I was saying that can be resolved because we also have an alternative dispute resolution mandate. And that's what I'm always saying to even MECs and stuff like that. If there's a protest, service delivery protest, they close schools, that community, nothing is stopping the MEC and requesting, the public protector to be the mediator. We did in Maspumelele where the community was not trusting the city. When we investigated or when we were involved, we managed to bring the city and the community to find so that's our responsibility.
I want to change tune now. I think we've spoken sufficiently about the relationship with the president, but I hope you understand because it's quite an important issue.
Exactly.
And the perception out there, it has to be addressed on what the tensions are and how are they resolved. Have you been affected personally by, you've mentioned what you say is Stratcom, how you're being targeted by the media. Have you, because I know there have been reports, you've spoken about how one of your bodyguards was allegedly poisoned at some point. Personally, have you noticed some things that are different that could be linked to the investigations that you take up?
Yes, I've said it. The reporting on a person daily, 3 times a day, what do you call that? Is it, why? And you have this narrative of this person doesn't know what she's doing. She's it's like you create, this person is a monster, actually, or people don't trust her anymore, or you're creating that level of people not trusting this particular person. And you, as media, you own all these resources, which I don't have, hence I had to go for YouTube to communicate my message, which is not diluted, because you ask media questions, I respond to them, but it's only 2 sentences which will end up in that article. Whatever is in the article is just something different.
Yeah.
So for me, I feel that is very serious attack on its character assassination, because then you creating this person to be this monster. How do you write in a front cover page and say enemy of the state? What are you trying to create in people's minds? And that's very dangerous, because then, you'd know the people who are acting in soaps or whatever, a person will say he was attacked because the person is performing or is acting on this position which is so devious or whatever. And the person is attacked because people are thinking in real life they are like that. So that's a very concerted effort to create that thinking in people's minds.
Has that changed the way people relate with you? I want to understand the impact of the attacks, right? What you're saying are the attacks from the media. Has that impacted you personally? Are you receiving calls from people? Are people changing the way they relate with you?
Well, the issue of calls, not me directly, but some of the people I work with, the way they speak to them, even after some of the reports, those are there. The issue of, well, as far as it relates to me, I remember we were supposed to go to the Eastern Cape. I was approached to come and address the Nelson Mandela Museum, where we agreed, we planned accordingly, because I'm busy with the road shows. And all of a sudden, when there were a lot of calls that public protector must be removed from outer, then that organization said, hey, we cannot have you because something like this. It was so very surprising that you find an institution which believes in Mandela values and protecting. It's like having an constitutional institution. I'm not into politics. Yes, I operate in political spaces, but why link me to such issues? Possibly people think maybe whoever is providing them monies or whatever, maybe might pull out if they find that this person who's threatening our interests, why relate to them?
Yeah.
But at any rate, my focus is, I'm not distracted by that. My focus is seeing this office performing the work, helping people at the grassroots. I mean, we went to Eastern Cape, we met with the community of Dimbaza. It was even more attended, and it had the impact we wanted to engage with the community, help them, you know.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And when the people close to you see the enemy of the people, how does it affect them? I mean, you've got kids. When they see you on TV, when they see the criticism, are you worried to an extent about how you can protect them from seeing that?
You know what? These people are exposing themselves. That's what we see them as, with my family, my friends, and everyone. For me, I'm glad that they are being exposed. Their agenda is exposed. And again, they are exposing themselves, because when you deal with certain individuals of a certain color or of a certain standing, it's different to when you deal with a certain person, like a public protector, a woman, a black woman. So they are exposing themselves.
Yeah.
For me, and even my family and my children, and they now know how media operates, you know, and they now know how these other NGOs, whose interests are they serving. Why, when you have this challenge in the communities, you are not seen, but when a person who's occupying this position or this company is impacted, now you can speak. It's still bothering around those issues of, you know, race, class, and everything.
When you were nominated for the position, I mean, a lot of people don't know what you used to do before. Just take us through that. And when you got nominated, why did you decide, I will take this one up?
You know, I was nominated by one staff. In fact, Shirley Mabuwan was one of my, in fact, she joined Home Affairs. She was still an intern. And, you know, they were working very hard. I was the National Director of Refugee Affairs, responsible for the management of refugee issues.
This is at Home Affairs?
Home Affairs.
Yeah.
So, and I worked with them. We had this backlog of the asylum seeker applications from Zimbabwe when there were those issues of instability in Zimbabwe. We had a lot of refugees. So we worked together. Now the successes which we achieved with them, I mean, being the director, but working with anyone and using the skills of even your interns. So now, after that process, when this post was advertised, she's the one who called me and said, hey, Awusbusi, I'm going to nominate you. Hey, Shirley, why are you doing? No, I know you will be able to do that work, because you are a, you know, person who believes in efficiency, you know, very good work ethic and stuff like that. I agreed. So I even forgot about it. And she had to remind me, Awusbusi, you didn't send your CV, please do. I had to send my CV. She had to change it, send it back to me. I didn't even check it. I think you remember during the interviews I was asked, but why this time frame? And I had to say, no, the person who nominated me changed the CV and, you know. But at the end of the day, I agreed, and I was saying, I'm willing to serve if God wants me to be there. Again, going back to that, I know I have been attacked.
Yeah, with people saying, when you say, God will remove me.
Exactly, because the way it happened,
Yeah.
Clement, I mean, when I was shortlisted, I was saying, you know what, if they make that mistake, in fact, before shortlisting, if they make a mistake of shortlisting me, then I have this post. And indeed,
Yeah.
I had this post.
But before that, you've also served in various capacities.
Yeah.
You worked for the embassy.
When I was in Home Affairs, I joined Home Affairs in 2005. I was from a human rights. In fact, I was from Public Protector, because I started working as a prosecutor, joined Department of Justice, International Relations, dealing with extradition-related matters. Then I went to Human Rights Commission as a researcher. Then I joined Public Protector. as a senior investigator. I worked here for 6 years. And then when I left Public Protector, I was the acting provincial rep in Gauteng, established that office. So I joined Home Affairs in 2005 as the Director Refugee Affairs. So when I was working, I've been through the stages of director for many years. Now in 2009, and then I had an interest of then changing from doing refugee law and that, but deal with now immigration law and stuff.
Yeah.
Then I applied for the position to be the counselor immigration. Actually, originally I wanted to go to Geneva because we have the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees is based in Geneva. Because of my experience as the National Director of Refugee Affairs and the interactions and what I've done in the space, that was my intention. By then it was Minister Mapisa Ngakula. But then when Minister Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma joined the department, she then had a different vision to say, we need to focus on countries where we receive a lot of immigrants. So then the key strategic places were India, Nigeria, and China. Yeah. I chose China. And then I was deployed there as the counselor immigration. I was there for 4.5 years.
Yes. Yeah. And while you were there, and we're seeing this in the reports that we're seeing now, I mean, you have already reacted to, as your office, to the HSBC report. Now we read the Mail and Guardian, they're saying your bank account is being investigated for possible exchange control violations, money that may have moved between countries. What do you think is behind that? Do you think there's merit to these investigations?
There's no merit. I mean, it's the same thing of just pointing a finger at me, you know. You shouldn't have touched these people, you shouldn't have touched these institutions. So there's no merit in that. I mean, when I was deployed to China, in Beijing is one country, or in fact China is one country where they're very strict. I mean, even as diplomats, we are opening our accounts in Hong Kong, HSBC, so we receive our allowance from Hong Kong. Then, well, you can withdraw in mainland China and for your survival. So that was the only time I had HSBC account whilst I was still a diplomat. And every diplomat, we send money home. I mean, that's an opportunity for you to pay off, you know, your debts, your bonds and everything. So then you would transfer money either, yes, most of the time it will be electronic. So I think if then there's things like FNB being mentioned as one of the accounts I've been using, possibly I transferred money once or twice into my FNB account. Now I came back 2014, July the 1st. I closed my HSBC account because normally we have to do that. Now, strangely, I don't know why this hullabaloo, which is coming up. I mean, when I'm traveling, I use both or my accounts, my card, but there's no money I received being deposited from another country into my account. It was the Mail and Guardian, I think, when they asked the questions that now to date, because they were now no longer asking about until 2014. So they're still busy fishing. And I know that they even went to several other institutions which are doing these investigations to check on me. And FNB, they haven't contacted me, or they haven't informed me that my bank account is flagged.
And you're confident they're not going to find anything suspicious? Nothing to hide?
Nothing. Whatever monies which are there, I think in the Mail and Guardian is mentioned, I was transparent that yes, there's monies from Indonesia coming into my account for my daughter-in-law. She's Indonesian, so the parents are sending money for her survival. So that's the only money, and nothing, and it's very minimal amounts. No violation of the of change control. But again, all these things are the issues of just discrediting me.
I want to get the view on, because the HSBC was trying to say the people that have been depositing money are the Gupta family. And in your statement, you've come out to say you have no relationship with the Gupta family and you never had. Does that also include their associates?
I don't, no one deposited money into my HSBC account. No. And when they were asking the questions, they themselves said no indication that there's money deposited by Trillion or whatever. So no monies. I never received any monies from any outside source. No.
Have you interacted before with the family or people close to them?
Abantu close nama Guptas, I don't know who are they. But ama Guptas, I've never met them. I wish I could meet them even now and ask them what happened. The only way I've met them now is going through the state of capture, their recordings when they met the former Public Protector, and the transcripts where they are saying, you know, we met so and so, we met so and so. So now I know who they met, who hasn't come forward. So that's how I've met them. And again, as the Public Protector, I can meet any person. So there's nothing stopping me from doing that. I think it needs to be clear to South Africans. Even when I'm going, I think there was that story that possibly I was with the
Colony House.
Nah, it's somebody else. But the fact of the matter is I can meet with any person. I think there
was a story about when you met the former president, Jacob Zuma.
You know, and why were they not making noise now when I met President Ramaphosa? So you see what media does. You just problematize these people, and now you just repeat one and the same narrative about this person. Your media is so dangerous.
I want to get your views, and we'll be concluding shortly, your views on what the Constitutional Court said, because I think since you've been in office, that was the first time, as Busisiwe Mkhwebane, the advocate, as the public protector, that you had the Constitutional Court rule against you, make the comments that they said against you, that you were not earnest in your investigation. And I mean, you've spoken about how sometimes you must play the ball and not the man. What is your view on that ruling by the Constitutional Court? Because some people look at it and say, geez, that is a damning finding, especially by the apex court.
Yes, and it's not an overwhelming majority judgment. The fact that there's minority judgment, it shows that there are some judges who applied their mind to my papers, which I can't wait to find an opportunity, because that will also give me either through the portfolio committee, or I will have a time where I will take, you know, the way the matter was dealt with at the Gauteng North High Court. The application was not even related to the merits of the matter, that ABSA never paid back the interest on that loan, which two judges found that it was an unlawful transaction, where I will take South Africans into step by step, because when you appear in court, you prepare your papers. When you litigate, you focus on the technicalities, because that's what the other parties focus on. Yeah, you met with the presidency, state security. What's wrong in meeting these people, discussing the way you dealt with the investigation? I've explained myself. Unfortunately, those judges, majority judgment, they took exactly what this court never wanted to hear, my side of the story. They just took the side of the story of the Reserve Bank and the others. And I've said it, I never lied. I am honest. And I think what Judge Mkhwebane said, that people should read the minority judgment because it's very clear. I mean, the way he dealt with the punitive costs, Uguti, you issue punitive costs only in very, very exceptional circumstances where the person lied, was dishonest, fraudulent, using fraudulent means or documents or hiding information from the court. How do you say I acted in bad faith when I gave all the Rule 53 documents, everything I had, including notes? How do you say I was dishonest when you have the notes? Why must you regard the recordings of the minutes to be only the recordings and the transcribed information? Why? What about the notes? Is it not the minutes? What? So I think I will then have to take people through all that information. For me, I found solace in the minority judgment, which is honest, focused on the law, not on the side issues, which are not there.
Yeah. And now you have to pay from your personal pocket.
Yes.
How is that going?
I'm still waiting.
You,
No, I'm still waiting for the final amount, because remember they need to tax the whole amount. We need to know how much is the final amount, and there's nothing stopping me from making arrangements to pay that amount.
There are people that are also trying to crowdfund for you.
I've seen that, and I appreciate it so much. Because that's one thing which some of my friends and family were asking. But now, how do you separate Busisiwe from Public Protector? You were not doing your house or transaction or investigation. This, you were doing your work. But then again, it goes back to that issue of constitutional crisis. Clement, or those judges, I mean, history will judge them. How do you issue a judgment like that?
Will you accept the funds though, the crowdfunding?
I'm still dealing with my legal team. We're waiting for the advice on that and how to make sure that we, if we accept, we show the sources and everything so that we are also within the law.
There are several politicians that have come out, Gwede Mantashe, for example, that have spoken about what they think of your abilities to perform in this constitutional body. And I know in Parliament you had referenced it without really mentioning the name, but you've referenced people who speak out against the Office of the Public Protector, and they want to link you to politics and factional battles that are happening in some political parties. How do you react to criticism like that, to some of, especially senior leaders, members of the executives, that are saying you are playing factional battles, you are with other people or the other faction in the African National Congress?
Well, they are exposing themselves again. They took an oath of office, again, to abide and respect the Constitution. But you are disrespecting the very same constitutional institution. You're exposing yourself to the people. You said people must vote for you. You are their leader, but you then reflect that behavior. You know, that's all I can say. I mean, just let them respect their oath of office. I'm not playing any politics. And I didn't go to my money or to EFF and say lodge these complaints. They lodged the complaints. I'm investigating within the law. And indeed, when there's any damning finding, I will publish it for people to decide for themselves. And same applies if I issue a report, I issue remedial action. I won't dictate to you how you deal with those remedial actions.
Do you think it's weakened the Office of the Public Protector, especially in the eyes of the public? These attacks these damning findings, the criticism?
Not at all. Not at all. Not. No ways. We're doing our work. A lot of appreciation. We are receiving a lot of, feedback from members of the public. Appreciating our work. And again, it's a class issue. Who reads the papers? Who's on those social media? If they are trying to discredit me, thinking that people will lose trust, maybe it's those people who are also allowing themselves to be manipulated by what is being reported on. Again, I think people need to analyze any information they see, critical thinking, do your own research. Nothing is stopping any person to write to the Public Protector directly and say, but what is this? Like what the media does every time. So not at all, Clement. I mean, work goes on. And after the Constitutional Court judgment, I had an opportunity to record a YouTube for the staff, encouraging them. Our focus is the people at the grassroots, those who are hopeless, those who have not received any assistance from the public servants. Let's help them.
Yeah, are they
Change their
encouraged?
lives.
The staff, is it encouraged? I mean, how's the morale? Because I can imagine if your face is plastered on the newspapers, on the TV screens, whether you like it or not, they will be concerned.
They are concerned, the staff, hence I'm saying I had to engage them and encouraging them. And again, they also know, a lot of them, that what is happening exposes the agenda of those who are attacking the Public Protector or Busisiwe Mkhwebane, thinking that, or putting pressure on her to resign, and she won't resign. And I'm encouraging them that let's go on and work. I'm going in nowhere near, in the near future, and
that's of course if the parliamentary committee doesn't set up and approve the inquiry into your fitness to hold office. There was reports that the decision may be taken in September.
Well, we will see when the time comes. And I think also let's see what are the rules saying, based on what. When you say the Public Protector is incompetent, what is incompetence of the Public Protector?
And if they mention the court rulings?
How many decisions of the courts? I mean, the very same Judge Botrel, I heard that 17 judgments were overturned in the Supreme Court of Appeal, and she's still there. And I mean, the Public Protector Act is very clear. There's that section 5, subsection 3, dealing with issues of immunity. Then it means these judgments, because in the long run, I've also delegated my senior investigators to sign the affidavits. It means there will be personal costs to them. But even judges, I mean, the legislation or the relevant legislation dealing with the judges, they are also having that immunity from those issues. So then if we're going to say judges must also pay from their own personal pocket, possibly it will be interesting also, so that maybe if we appeal, we can also cite those judges. And so that, let's see, and also ask for personal cost orders. But then at the end of the day, that's law. I mean, losing court cases, you can lose all the court. It's not about winning or losing again. For me, again, I said it, Clement, it's not about me. It's about the people, or the reports we are investigating, or whatever remedial action we come up with, or whatever prejudice, or whatever systemic challenges. So what kind of a country are we creating that certain people, they can do as they please, certain people will not? Or if it relates to service delivery, then the report is set aside. Then it means the impact to the people. So it's not me losing.
Yeah.
It's the people who are losing.
Would you say this is the biggest test of your life?
Yes, it is a test, but I'm taking it, I think the position also dictates the kinds of tests you will face as a person. Because this position is a position which will be helping the country to move forward. And especially, it's a challenge in South Africa because we still have challenges of those triple challenges, unemployment, poverty, inequality. And unfortunately, in the country, when you touch the issue of the Reserve Bank and the economy, or the issue of land, then you then touching those who have resources, who are able then to write about you, publish about you, tarnish your image. So we're dealing with the system here. But I'm glad that the system is exposing itself for people to see that, unfortunately, you cannot just say we went, we voted, we've got this government in power. Are we seeing the fruits of having people in power so that we can have everyone who is included in the livelihood? Because, it's not easy. And there's investigations which people bring, Clement. I won't ignore. And I won't say I'm afraid now of personal court orders, because I've seen, again, I was threatened with that, and that Judge Botrel went ahead and issued that, even if it was not argued. But at the end of the day, we will have to make sure that everyone is treated equally. And also the reports which I issue, it's for the benefits of all South Africans, black, white, Indian, colored. It's not for my own.
Two quick last issues, Public Protector. What is it that people don't understand or know about you? Because like I said earlier, we look at you, we look at the reports, we look at the court, we hear the findings. But what is it that South Africans need to know about you that maybe we don't know about you?
I'm here to serve you, South Africans. I'm not here to push my own agendas. I'm not here to be dictated to by certain individuals, or to serve certain people's interests. Not at all. And for some strange reason, you'll find that the very same people who are possibly puppets to other people are the ones who think that possibly you are also like them. Because normally when you point a finger, the three are pointing at you. So South Africa must just know, I'm here, do my work without fear, favor. I mean it literally so. When a complaint is lodged, we will investigate. And again, I'm not investigating all those 34,000 complaints we've received, South Africans. I have a very good team, the staff of the Public Protector, who's been there, who are experienced. The only matters which come to my table, and again, when it's a finished product, it's when I issue a Section 79 notice. And trusting them, because they have collated all the evidence, they draft that, they bring it to me, I sign, and a final report. So I think people must just understand that it's not me who's doing all this work. All those 102 reports we've issued, I didn't prepare them myself and do the investigation.
There's a team behind you.
The team did all the work. They convinced, brought all the evidence, PP. This is what we found. This is the evidence we're having. Here's the Section 79. Can you sign? I sign. And the way I trust them, I don't even demand the file unless I would want to see something or the evidence, which I'm saying we cannot issue this report. Are we sure that we have evidence to back us up? And even if our reports can be taken to court on review, it's not a reflection on the quality of the work. Those reports, it's quality work, and which is done by the team, which, as the Public Protector, I then sign and issue.
Collectively working as a team, How do you react then when your deputy says there's no consultation at all?
I think the issue of the Deputy Public Protector, the Public Protector Act is very clear. There are delegations you delegate to the Public Protector. Especially the ABSA matter was investigated by my predecessor. I think you remember. It took how many years? More than 7 years. In fact, not more than 6 years. 5, 6 years to investigate the matter. So when I arrived, DPP was allocated certain delegations. Especially his delegations are focusing on administrative justice and service delivery. That's where you'll find that he did a lot of alternative dispute resolution engagements. So those matters, we finalize them mostly through that process. But then where we issue a lot of reports, it relates to conduct failure, procurement irregularities, issues relating to corruption, and all those. So that investigation, when it was conducted, even if they had a think tank where the reports are discussed, which was later changed into task team when I took over, and seeing the impact of those meetings, because you'll fly all the provincial reps come and discuss the reports, but you find that the output is not what you'd expect, and you waste a lot of resources. Then we had to change the strategy and say, okay, let's have task teams, and the delegations which he is having relates to certain kinds of work he should be doing. So I think it needs to be very clear that I don't know what was his intention. I won't answer on his behalf why he said that, but I think it was supposed to be very clear that his delegations relates to this if he's asked about that matter. But again, once a report is issued, it's the Public Protector report, because then if there's any need, when he's training, because he's also responsible for training our investigators, those are some of the reports which we need to use, which are matters which we should all of us be internalizing.
Yeah, but do you enjoy a good relationship with him?
It's a professional engagement. It's a working relationship with the DPP, because also whatever I've delegated, we have our leadership meetings, we have our task team meetings where we discuss the work and the backlogs, or especially the cases which are 2 years and older, and also giving me feedback on work delegated to him. For instance, the backlog, the file inspection, this is what I've picked up. So it's a working relationship.
Does he raise any concerns with you?
No.
About the court findings, because he said also in the interview that he had a different view about the Bangkok report. He felt like it could have been done differently. Does he come to you and say, I think this is how you should have done this, or I'm more concerned about the court findings against you?
I was referring to that issue of the Bangkok, that it was investigated by my predecessor. So I found the investigation was complete. It was just to make sure that I meet the parties and just have my facts straight, because I had to issue that Section 7.9 or provisional report in terms of Section 7.9. So now, when the report is issued, or when we are about to issue a report, again, it goes back to the delegation, Clement. Because when the investigation is done, if it's not delegated to him, he won't be involved. Or if then we discuss it in one of the task team meetings, then he'll give his views. But there's nowhere where he says, no, you shouldn't have done this way. Because once we issue something, it's the institutional report. But yeah.
Hasn't raised any concerns?
He hasn't.
Okay.
Not with me. I think it will help also because that's why we are having this institution where the Public Protector has a deputy, the executive, because we sit as a collective, the executive, the chief operations officer, the deputy Public Protector, when we deal with the work and the production of the institution.
What is your message to South Africans? I know you've spoken about what they don't know about you, that you're here to serve. Is there anything else you want to send as a message as a public protector in this constitutional body?
I think the message I would like to send to South Africans, I think let's just not be distracted by the negativity or the negative reportings which we are bombarded with every day. Let's not lose focus as South Africans. Let's work together to achieve economic freedom, because we should be focusing on how as a collective we deal with the issue of unemployment, how as a collective we deal with the issue of crime, how as a collective we deal with the issue of drug abuse, women abuse. I think if we can put our energy to that, because at the end of the day, this is not only also affecting, because it's like it's a issue of inequality and sometimes racial issues are there. What I will say to all South Africans is, let's just be patriotic. Let's be selfish about our country. I mean, if you travel to other countries, I stayed in China for 4.5 years, and if you see how patriotic they are, a person in the street being able to report anything, like they even work as kind of immigration officials, because if you are a foreigner in their street, nothing is stopping them to call the police and say, hey, we're seeing somebody we don't know here. That kind of working and protecting your sovereignty, it's all our responsibilities, because now we're busy reporting negative things, we're busy fighting amongst each other, and that's how we are reflecting ourselves to the nations out there. So that's all I would say. And some of us are here to serve you, to change your lives, even both ways, to you as citizens, but as well to the public servants. We are not here to police you or to be police and treat you as if you are not doing your part. We are here to help you, to change the lives of South Africans, the executive. Now with the training which I'm doing, I'm giving them example of the late Minister Kada Asmal, who approached the Public Protector to investigate communication in government. We are here for that. Because you can approach us as a minister, as an HOD. Now the challenges of the municipalities versus provinces. Where municipalities, that's where service delivery is happening. They are not funded. People are unemployed. How do you then expect people to pay for services? Then if we see it and you say, Public Protector, your investigation, help us so that when we plan, maybe change the provincial structure and fund more the municipal structures, and we have people who are properly qualified to do the work, who will make sure that their monies which are allocated to them are to the benefit of South Africans. So I can go on and on and on and on, but I think little by little we'll achieve that.
And your message to political parties, and I'll tell you why I'm asking that. There are people that view some parties as using your office to fight their battles. People have used the example of the EFF, who were against you last year, but now they're in defense of your office. And the criticism has been that that's because you are investigating people that they are against. What do you say about that perception that political parties use the office to fight their own political battles?
You know, I wouldn't comment on that. I think that you'll ask them. But the main message to the political parties, and even to the unions, let's defend and protect our constitution, our constitutional institutions. If EFF is defending the constitutional institution, so be it. If DA is defending constitutional institutions, so be it. Because at the end of the day, that's what we call democracy. They are representing their people or their constituencies. They wouldn't want that constitutional crisis. They wouldn't want a situation where if it's one person, they are dealt with quickly. I've issued 4, 5, 6 reports relating to several other ministers. Bokika, Babo, Brown, Van Rooyen, and others. I received quick responses and cooperation how the president has dealt with or implemented the report. Let it be equal. Let's be treated equal. So all political parties, even unions, if you have issues of 29% of unemployment, let's work together and focus and find ways to deal with that. People are being retrenched and whatever. Let's focus on things which are benefiting people, and instead of coming again criticizing how this public protector is being used. I'm not used. I'm independent, Clement. Hence, if you can see our work, we've issued reports against any person. You know, we are not focusing on certain individuals, no. Across color, everyone.
Yeah. Anything else you want to add?
I would like to say thank you for the interview, and to all South Africans, I love them.
Okay,
Okay,
thank you so much for your time.